So we're going to get back into the Locust story. This is part 11, okay? So we left off with Tasha and her husband Troy having an argument because he decided to bring the baby home. And Tasha was having a very hard time at the fact that Troy wouldn't let her hold that baby. He didn't trust her with the baby. Everything in him told him to not to let her touch the baby. So Tasha had found out some news that after he left, because Troy wound up storming out, he took the baby and no telling where Troy went. But Tasha then got on the phone. She talked to Jaquisha. She wound up sending her driver over to make sure Jaquisha kept her phone on. And then she talked to her sister and found out that the night that May's mother had passed away, it wasn't an accident. It was purposely done. So we're going to start there. But we're going to start the next morning because it's time for the baby to be picked up. Troy came in the house and he put May down. He picked her up out of her car seat and gave her the sweetest little hug. And he said, "Listen here." He said, "I want you to know your daddy loves you." He said, "This is the hardest decision I've ever made." He said, I think I made a really good decision, though, when I'm taking the time to spend with you." He said, "I'm going to cherish this. I'm going to cherish this with everything inside of me." He said, "Well, he said, there's a couple coming today." He said, I don't want to, I want to make sure you know the truth. Even if you may never remember, they're coming today to pick you up, and they're going to provide you a good life. I'm so happy about that. And May just looking up at him with those big, brown, beautiful eyes, and he was just wrapped up in it. And he said, he took his necklace off of his neck, and he put it around May's neck. And he said, "You take this with you. This will protect you." May didn't know what that meant. She was just a baby. So Tasha woke up and she came into the living room and she saw her husband talking to the baby and looking over her so lovingly. She just stood there watching him in the hall. And she finally spoke because she wanted to interrupt what he had going on with little May. She says, "Good morning, husband." And she smiled and she stood there, and Troy looked up at her and, "Morning, dear." And he put his focus back on May. Tasha said, "Well, would you like some breakfast, dear?" Troy said, he said, "I think I'm going to be okay." He said, "Maybe a little later." She said, "What about some coffee or something to drink?" And he said, Coffee or do. Coffee or do. Thanks, dear." And so Tasha went into the kitchen. She goes into the kitchen and she boils a pot of water and she puts the scoops of coffee into his cup. Finally, the water was ready, and she went ahead and poured the rest of the water over the coffee, and she took some milk out of the refrigerator and poured some milk in there and added 2 spoons of sugar. But Tasha was still angry. She spit in his cup. She stirred it around really good because she didn't want him to, she didn't want him to see it. So she stirred that cup up really good, stirred it. And she put on her best smile and she walked into the living room with the plate and the cup and a saucer. "Oh dear, here you are." She said, "Would you like me for me to..." And then she stopped herself because she knew Troy did not want her to hold that baby. She knew it. And for all the right reasons, he was right. So she said, never mind, dear. Here's your coffee. I'll just put it right here on the table next to you. Troy looked down at the coffee and he looked at her and he said, thank you, dear. I appreciate it. She was smiling so smug. And she went over and sat on the couch. Finally, Tasha looked at her phone and she went ahead and texted the service and let them know to send the family right on over. This was a very good time. So Troy held the baby as he sipped his coffee and he watched a bit of news, and Tasha stayed quiet. She stayed very, very quiet. She just watched him. It was very awkward because she had no love in her heart at that moment. She hated Troy right now. She hated the baby even more. She hated her mother, even though her mother was already unalived. That was a lot of hate. And so finally she broke the silence and, oh, honey, I got a text. It looks like the family is on their way. And he said, oh, it's rather early. It's not even 9 o'clock, dear. I asked them if they can come around 11. Well, honey, it looks like they're already en route. Tasha, I asked that you ask them to come around 11. Maybe they can go and have themselves some breakfast or something. Tasha was pissed. She was ready to get rid of that baby. So she decided to give them a call and, hi, good morning. This is Tasha. Well, it looks like you guys are en route. However, my husband and I aren't quite ready to part our ways with the child. And we were hoping that you can swing by 11. Oh, never. Okay. Oh, wow. If you guys decide to go and have some breakfast or something, I will pay for that. Just bring me your receipt and I'll reimburse you guys. Okay? Okay. Amazing. Absolutely. All right. Well, you guys enjoy your breakfast. All right. I'll see you at 11. Sounds good. Bye-bye. Tasha hangs up. Dear, it looks like they were able to accommodate us for 11 a.m. And Troy looked at her and just nodded his head and with quite a squint in his eyes because everything in him just didn't feel right about none of this. He couldn't trust Tasha and he knew it. And especially about this baby. Troy took a deep breath and he looked into May's eyes and he said, listen here. He said, everything's going to be okay. He said, I pray everything is okay. And he gave her a little sweet kiss on her cheek and he said, listen, Daddy loves you. And he picks her up and just began to pat her. May was so smug. It was the only time that she ever felt love, in those moments with her father. It's the only time. And it was very short-lived, because after today, May's life will change forever. The things that she will have to endure, no one should ever have to endure. He had no idea that May was going to be in constant danger. He just patted away.